All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Sex, Drugs, and Soul, my messy, beautiful humans. Today, I'm so excited that I have founder and CEO of Afterglow, Lilly Sparks, on. I first discovered her at a conscious porn and wine pairing event, and which was like so unique. I was like, okay, this is so cool. Loved the screening, by the way. So I'm so curious about like how the idea came to you, how like the creative process. Like I remember like me being a little kid, watching some scrambled images as like trying to listen also for footsteps coming down the hallway, being like, is that a boob? Or,
Yeah.
so I just love this site. I did a little research and self pleasure and joined. And so it's beautiful. I love what you've done. I love also that to offer an alternative perspective because I've had a couple of people on and they've like really cast out or made porn like a bad guy. And maybe it can be in certain scenarios, but I love to offer your perspective and get some insight and dispel some myths and that sort of thing too.
I am excited. I love talking about porn, and I'm very pro porn. I think porn is an amazing tool for helping you have better sex.
Mm-hmm.
So I am Lilly Sparks. I'm the founder and CEO of Afterglow. Afterglow is porn that is designed to help you have a better sex life.
Mm.
So same as you, like my first experiences of porn were actually like after prom night, kind of like
Oh.
gathering
Yeah.
around, like in a group setting,
Yeah.
maybe a little different than most people, and like watching, that was back in the DVD era. So watching a DVD called like Young Girls in Prison.
Oh, wow.
And it really turned me on. And that's porn is really effective at turning you on, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
We're humans. We love watching other people have sex.
Mm-hmm.
It's hot to watch hot people have sex, and I'm not going to apologize for liking that.
Yeah.
And I think that experience with porn, it's always been, I've enjoyed watching porn, but I also felt really left out of the stories
Mm.
as a woman. And it didn't help me actually have better sex in my real sex life with my partner.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in a relationship with my high school sweetheart from age 15 to 30,
Whoa.
and I didn't orgasm until I was 24, because the stories that we typically see in porn, especially at that time, were really around male pleasure, really around performative sex. And porn is the only place that we can go to see what it looks like to have sex. So, of course, we're going to pick up on those narratives. And of course, we're going to pick up on those scripts.
Mm-hmm.
So, the goal of Afterglow is it's like if every movie was an action movie, basically. So, the goal of Afterglow is to tell different stories in porn to show a different type of sex that has communication, that
Mm-hmm.
is ethical, that's pleasurable for everybody, that's less performative, that shows people doing acts that they want to do. And then we pair those films with pleasure recaps that are written by certified sex educators.
Oh, cool.
So kind of like a Cliff Notes or reflection, because a lot of times the stereotypical experience of porn is, you open an incognito window, you're by yourself, you're like typing in your search terms that you don't want to admit to everybody else. And Afterglow is really trying to create a different experience
Mm-hmm.
without the ick factor,
Yeah.
that you can be really excited about your favorite porn star and about your favorite film, and you can talk about it with your partner, and you can share why you like it and why it excites you.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually research that Amber Mallory has done that shows that people who watch ethical porn have better sexual health and better sexual satisfaction than people who watch
Mm.
mainstream porn.
Yeah, I get that because I guess you can reference it. And one, if you're also watching it with a partner, I guess it means you're communicating
Exactly.
about sex instead
Exactly.
of just like keeping in this thing like, okay, we're actually going to talk about these things. I loved like some of the pleasure meditations that I saw on there. I think I saw a video for sensual like
Sexual
dance.
movement.
Yes, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I love all this. I want to go back and play some more. So I'm curious how long it took you from like that night, prom night,
Yeah.
for the idea to develop like, okay, I'm gonna create this platform and help like release some of the shame and stigma around sex and porn and search terms and all those things. Like,
It's always been in the back of my mind, is this idea where I'm just like, okay, I really want to love porn. Why do I feel so
mm,
left out of
mm-hmm,
what I see on Pornhub? Why does it just not, I love romance novels. And so I would be reading romance novels and like, I'm like, oh, this is awesome. But I also love TV and movies. So I'm like, why can't I get something that makes me feel like romance novels
Mhm.
feel and feels kind of like, just good and happy in my body. And, I kind of I actually started my career as an accountant. So I was an
Oh, wow.
accountant for a
Okay,
long
yeah.
time. So I'm like, okay, you can't really make a bigger jump than like accountant to making porn.
Yeah.
But it's funny, you're all about like sex, drugs, and spirituality. And
Mhm.
actually, I was on a 7-day meditation retreat, Vipassana style
Ooh.
meditation retreat on Maui. And it was like just life changing and transformative. And I was sitting there, like trying to clear my head. And you know, at one point there was the waves and the
Mm.
birds. And I just got this message like, now is the time for you to start this. Like, now is the time to go for it.
Wow.
Yeah. And I knew absolutely nobody in the porn industry. I had zero experience with porn, which I don't 100% recommend. Like, I think maybe I should have worked in the industry a little bit before starting my own company, but that's not the path I had.
Mhm.
I just started talking to everybody I know, researching people, reaching out to them and saying like, "Hey, I want to start an ethical porn company. Will you talk to me?
Oh,
Will
cool.
you talk to me? Will you talk to me?" And ended up finding our first producer who made our first films and did a Kickstarter campaign Indiegogo campaign to get started and launched about 6 months after that. And we've been around since we've been launched Valentine's Day 2021.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
That's a cool little journey. It kind of, to me, also sounds like that feeling of resonance or being seen. Like, because I've had that in different books. It's like, okay, I can find like a similarity or commonality. Because I know for myself, when I've watched like Pornhub or something before, then I'm like, okay, or comparison in like body parts, or I'm like, do I have like, am I normal?
Yeah.
That type of feeling down there, or comparisonitis. So I do love that like there's different representation on your site too. And then and is that an element that you brought, I guess, through like the common thread from start to finish? And
Yeah. Like I remember it's watching porn or like talking about porn with friends in college and like it was kind of like a group of guys and they're like, "Oh, her labia looks like a poorly packed suitcase." And I was like,
yeah.
"Oh, like does mine look like that? Am I one of those people?" And I think that a lot of women are turned off by mainstream porn for a number of reasons. And I'm excited to get into like the myth busting
Yes.
that I'm a firm believer that mainstream porn is not bad in any way. It just might not be targeted towards
Mm-hmm.
me or you or what we prefer to watch. That's totally okay. But yeah, I think that as women, seeing other women be confident in their sexuality is really inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I look for in the videos I put on Afterglow. Is just like, it doesn't matter what you look like. If you're out there owning your sexuality, owning your power, doing your thing, it does not matter what you weigh or like what color your skin is. And like, we don't reduce people to specific like racial taglines and
Mm-hmm.
all of those kind of things because it doesn't matter. It's about like this beauty of sexuality that we really want to showcase.
Yeah, I remember watching one video that I was like, oh, definitely the confident one. Was it your first one, the lip service one?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like, I love that one. I think that one was at the screening too. And I was like, oh yeah, that confident, like just directional guidance, and also like a story, but also tips in storytelling way, like in a more non-prescriptive type of storytelling.
Yeah. It's like
Um,
I love
yeah,
kind of like showing, not
yeah,
telling. And I
yeah.
love like Lip Service, which is one of our most popular films. It's probably my favorite film ever. And there's no penetration in it, which when do you ever see a porn that's completely decentered around penetration? And it's a woman who's instructing her partner on how she wants cunnilingus performed on
Mm-hmm.
her. And there's also kind of a fun voyeur element to it.
Yes.
And it's really interesting seeing people's reactions to it because some people are like, she's bossy. And I'm like, yeah, bossy's great. She's saying very
Mm-hmm.
clearly what she wants.
Mm-hmm.
And we never ever see that. And so we don't know how to do it because it's like, how do we, like, when I want to learn how to change a tire or like chop an onion, I go to YouTube, I see somebody doing the
Mm.
thing. But when it comes to like sex and our sexual experiences, there's this weird societal expectation that we're just supposed to know. It's supposed to be perfect every time, stars flying, sparks. You always want to do it. You're always ready without any like training or skills. Like you would never expect that in any other area of your life. So like why do
Mm.
you expect that
So
when it comes
true.
with your sex life?
Yeah, because I don't know. I mean, I definitely didn't grow up in that household or environment too, where it was talked about. What you've said also made me think of how a lot of times women are told they're too much or not enough, or
Yeah.
being bossy could be too much. Or, but
Yeah.
I love like watching her just communicate. Because yeah, there's been times in my life before when I didn't have like a toolkit or the verbiage or language to say, okay, no, like little like circle, just like a different language to describe what
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, yes, and looking at it like a kind of a curiosity aspect of self-discovery to bring to pleasure. I love it.
And then we also have a guided cunnilingus exercise
Okay,
on the site.
cool.
So it's an audio exercise that you do with a partner. So like, because what circles means to you and to your partner and to your partner's previous partner, like that could
Mm,
be three different
yes.
things. And so it's like it's also really nice just to have it be like a third party kind of telling you what to do. So it takes the pressure off it being
Mm-hmm.
like, it's
Mm.
not your partner's fault if you don't like it. It's not your fault if you don't like it. It's just a thing that you're trying. And I think, we bring so much internal pressure and judgment on ourselves when it comes to sex.
Mm.
And that's true for men and women, that it makes the stakes ridiculously high when things go
Mm-hmm.
wrong. Like if you were, changing a tire and you didn't get the wrench on just right, you wouldn't judge yourself and be like,
True.
I'm a horrible mechanic. You'd be like,
Like,
things happen. I
I
know
gotta
how to
call in
do
some
this.
assistance
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
If it's not YouTube, I'm gonna call in some support in some way. I'm not gonna just
Exactly.
stay on the side of the road.
Exactly. Exactly. Like sometimes we all need support.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. That's definitely been a learning journey of mine. It's like the asking for support when I need it and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I'd love to jump into some of the myths too. Like I love you also came on to Leola's Pleasure Priestess group, and I was just like, I want you on my podcast.
Yeah.
Because one of the big ones, and you can totally expand on this too, that I've heard people come to me is around shame or the language we're talking about porn addiction.
Yeah.
And then I'll let maybe even you just take it from there about your thought.
Yeah, yeah. So porn addiction is not a recognized diagnosis in the DSM-5 manual. And also, like certified sex therapists do not recognize porn addiction. That's not to say that people don't they recognize it as like a compulsive use disorder
Hmm.
when it's negatively affecting your life. It's not I'm not saying everybody has a healthy relationship with porn. I think you can definitely have a healthy relationship or an unhealthy
Hmm.
relationship with it. Same thing as exercise, same thing as social media. I think social media is probably like the best analogy for porn use because
Hmm.
it's meant to feed your engagement. It's meant to really, it's meant to excite you. It's meant to excite parts of your brain. It doesn't get to the point of like rewiring your brain in the same way that like hard drugs and
Hmm.
addictions that are recognized as addictions do. It's just not at that same level.
Hmm.
And addiction treatment also, like the kind of treatment that we do for addiction, doesn't work
Hmm.
for porn use disorder. A lot of times it's much better to kind of do more traditional therapy and kind of look at some of the underlying causes of like what's going on
Hmm.
in your life that you're using porn as a coping
Hmm.
mechanism. Um, so yeah, that's porn addiction. I think, and it's similar with social media. Like 80% of the people out there, like use it and it's generally a positive thing in their
Hmm.
life. And there's a specific organization called Nicosi that's really pushing this like porn addiction agenda.
Hmm.
And because of that, I think a lot of people who have very normal porn use but have shame around watching
Hmm.
porn think that they have porn addiction, and it's like this kind of shame spiral where really they just like to, watch porn and masturbate.
Yeah.
So I think it's like, okay, is your porn use really impacting your life, your
Mhm.
relationship? I think another way that porn impacts people's lives that's not porn addiction is just that they have different beliefs around porn than their partner. So, and they're not, and sometimes that shame and those different beliefs leads them to be dishonest about it.
Mm.
And so then that's an issue with your relationship is like,
Mhm.
you're not, your partner says they don't want you watching porn or create some kind of rule around it and you agree, but then you don't do it. And it's like, okay,
Kinda
that's
like
a different tricky
yeah, or like
situation.
fuel on the fire if you're gonna keep it hidden
Are you just
or
hid
like,
it? Yeah, you're
for that
hiding it.
shame or the
Yeah, you're
yeah.
breaking trust.
Mhm. Okay, so, yeah, I had someone mention something about a porn-induced erectile dysfunction, and I was
Mhm.
like, "I don't know much about that." I was gonna ask you, if you've heard of that or,
Yeah, I think that it's mostly again, like, mostly not
yeah.
true. I think there's a lot of, like, it there's a lot of, like, okay, if you are masturbating 10 times a day, like, you're not like, what is normal erectile function? And, like, what erectile function are you expecting, and is it reasonable?
Mm,
So I think
mm.
that's, people just whatever see a 5-minute porn video and like I think a lot of times there's a lot of focus on women and how porn impacts us and stuff, but I think and like the shame that we have around
Mhm,
sexuality, but I think men also have a lot of expectations and a lot of
mhm.
shame around their erectile
Yeah.
function and how long it takes them, and it's like sometimes it takes us a long time to warm up, and
Mhm,
guys have this expectation that they're always ready to go, and that's an unreasonable expectation sometimes.
mhm.
So I think that most people are normal and we just have these crazy expectations that we
Yeah.
give ourselves, and having those expectations kind of creates a feedback loop of inhibiting our desire, because when you're expected to perform on a moment's notice, like how that you're excited, you're not kind of in the relaxed, chill, horny state. Like, it's really hard to be horny on command.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I know there's definitely been times too where I'm like, okay, if I take the goal of orgasm out of the picture
Yep.
and just enjoy and like be where my boots are
Yep.
instead of like up
I love
here,
that. Be
like,
where my boots
yeah,
are.
it's just like being more present and in my body versus like, okay, worried about reaching an orgasm to please me and my partner.
Yeah.
So, and like give the feedback in that aspect versus like, okay, well, how do I feel in in my body? Am I feeling the pleasure? Maybe I need more sensual massage to warm up,
Yeah.
or more maybe breathe or do a little eye gaze. I love eye gazing, so I'm like maybe do that.
I love
Uh,
sex that's not
yeah,
linear.
yeah.
I love
Oh,
sex where you know, you're advancing and then you take a step back and you kiss again,
mm-hmm,
or you just
mm-hmm.
take a break and kind of like create more of a fun up and down wave flow. I think that can
Mm.
be really pleasurable.
I like that idea too. I also like whenever you mentioned the recording for the oral cunnilingus, like how you can make it playful. Like
Yes.
it's like ooh, someone else is coming into our session today, babe.
Yeah.
I tend to like things to be playful anyway. What other myths do should we
Yeah, I think
go on?
the other really common myth is that people feel bad watching porn because they're worried that the women are exploited
Mm,
or
mhm,
trafficked.
mm,
And if you've been on Pornhub, it's pretty easy to tell if the person in the film is a performer. There's like performer pages, they have links to their OnlyFans. If that's the scenario, then they're doing this, they're making a career out of this, they're doing it on purpose. It's highly unlikely that they are being trafficked.
mhm,
And Pornhub put in place better regulations around making sure everyone has consent,
mhm.
and kind of moderating their films. So that's definitely improved kind of like in the past 5 years. But in general, like it's uncommon to watch kind of like mainstream studio porn and you have to worry about people being exploited or trafficked.
Oh, good. I
Yeah.
think that a lot of times, even with sex work in general, a lot of times people assume like, oh, do they really want to be there, or is it a conscious choice, and that sort of. At least I've experienced that in different capacities, whether it's online, whether it's sex work in a different capacity, like escorting or
Yeah.
sugaring or all kinds of different ways.
And I think like when you're, we usually do work to make money, and we try to find the work that will make us the most money that we are happy doing. And, if you're somebody who has been working like a retail job, making minimum wage, and, if you can make $700 in a day, like that's a
hmm
pretty attractive offer.
hmm
And so I think that's kind of like one of my friends who's a performer. She was a librarian. She like graduated college, did a master's degree. She was a librarian,
Sexy
and
librarian.
yeah, she's a sexy librarian, and she was making like 40K a year, and her boss was an asshole.
Mm.
And she started doing porn, and she's like, people treat me so much better in the porn industry, and I'm making so much more money than I did as a librarian.
So then you get more freedom in your life
Yeah,
and
you get flexibility. I mean, it's
mhm.
definitely, I think it's also a myth that porn is easy. Like, oh, if I can't make it, I'll just do porn or do an OnlyFans and make a ton of money. Like, it's a career, and you have to work at it every single
Mhm.
day. And I mean, showing up to have sex on camera, I could not do it. Like, I'm a terrible actor, number one, but like, it takes a lot of balls to do it. And it's like the people who do it well are extremely talented.
Mhm. I feel like that, yeah, would give me a little bit of a hummingbird heart even just like going
Yeah.
like I've done some other capacities, but that is so vulnerable too.
Yeah, I mean,
I
even when
mean
I just, like, act with, like, a normal camera, I'm like,
Yeah.
"Ah."
I'm like, and then add in naked and maybe someone you do or don't know. And
Yeah.
maybe we can talk about some of the dynamics too of like some, I don't know, the consent conversations or I love bringing that. And I guess intimacy coordinators are now
Yeah,
more common.
intimacy coordinators who are, like, they're common in Hollywood, and they're
hmm
becoming a lot, they kind of came from the porn
Okay.
world and now are becoming common in sex scenes in Hollywood too. And basically the intimacy coordinator is there to make everybody feel more comfortable with what's going on in the scene. A lot of the common practice is to do kind of like a yes, no, maybe list, so everybody
Mm.
knows what the boundaries are in a scene. Talk about what acts are expected in the scene, what you're not going to do, what's off the table. We had one person who's like, I have a really bad allergy. And so, like, you
Mm.
can't eat this specific food for lunch, because if you do and then you kiss me, then like I'll break out. And
Mm.
that, like, you can't do that. So, these are important things
Mhm.
to talk about before shooting a scene. And then the intimacy coordinator is there to make sure that those boundaries that everybody went through are honored, and to be the performer's advocate if, the director or the producer is like asking for things, and kind of the person,
Mhm.
and being able to challenge the person in power.
I like that. I watched a documentary at South by Southwest on intimacy coordinating, and I was like, "Oh, this is so neat!" Like just seeing like the negotiations and yeah, going to. I think the director or writer had one vision in their mind, and then but they had to kind of like cross over or change things whenever I was like, okay, I'm comfortable with this, or I thought I was comfortable with this, but really now that I'm here and I have the hummingbird heart or whatever. And that I think I don't know if that was maybe in my more like Hollywood capacity, but
It's the
it's the
same.
same.
It's
Yeah,
the
okay, cool.
same. Yeah, and also, when you've had sex, you might have an idea of what you're gonna do. You'll be like, "Oh, I'm gonna be on top. I'm gonna do this," and then when you actually do it, things don't go that way.
Mhm.
So I think sex is a thing that doesn't always fit our expectations in a lot of ways. And
Yeah.
so when we film our films, like, we a lot of times we say, okay, this is kind of what we want, but when it starts happening, sometimes they just go for it, do something completely different. And usually, like, that, we want to capture that authenticity, so we want to
Mhm.
let them, as long as everybody is comfortable and safe.
Mhm. Cool. And so I'm curious, so are they I kind of want to know the process too and like more of the mess like like who someone's writing something or like an idea or is it how like that whole journey kind of.
Yeah.
I'm curious about the behind the scenes of it. And I guess I haven't watched any of it yet, but you have some of the behind the scenes footage
Yeah.
on Afterglow too. Okay, cool.
Yes. Yes. So usually we come up with the idea.
Mhm.
Usually we don't write a script
Okay.
necessarily because we try to have some kind of a story, even if it's not like specific lines. And, we break out kind of like beginning, middle, and end of like what we want to happen. So more of like a short treatment.
Mhm.
And sometimes I'll add like some pictures for the vibe and stuff like that. But it's pretty low budget, low key, kind of like shooting a student film. And a lot of times we reach out, we have relationships with performers that we want to
Mhm.
work with. Sometimes we reach out a lot of times on Twitter, X, to people since they're a little bit more adult friendly.
Mhm.
And then a lot of times we'll start with one of the performers and then ask them if they have somebody that they want to work with. Because we try to get it so that people are going to have, I think if they're more comfortable with somebody, then it's going to be more fun. It's going to be a better
Mhm.
performance. And then we have usually like a director and like kind of lighting, sound, camera person and maybe a PA, but pretty small set. We have to find a location that's cool with us filming there. Um, and yeah, pretty usually it's a 1 day shoot and the films are they could be like 8 to 30 minutes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Are they found primarily in like California or
We've
where?
filmed a few
Okay.
different places,
Okay.
mostly California.
Okay, cool, interesting. Because I mean, I just feel like whenever I lived in California, I'm like, "Oh, we got the valley where"
That's where a
Yeah,
lot of the talent
yeah,
and even, like, people in the film industry, like, that's where the
yeah,
skill set is.
yeah, I was just curious. I'm like, I get to peek behind the curtain a little bit, you know? Um, yeah, what other myths do we have? The
Good question. Hmm.
I like the relationship one if you wanna expand on or the couples. I've heard
Yeah.
it,
Yeah, I
uh
think, just some interesting facts is that, couples that watch porn together have better communication and more satisfying sex lives. So, the idea that porn is gonna ruin your relationship is false. Unless you're hiding something,
Mhm,
unless it's being used in a way that breaks trust. We have a lot of couples that love Afterglow, that love it for like date night and just
mhm,
having a way to kind of get out of the busyness that's going on in your head and unwind and relax and kind of like get into that sexy space. And
mhm.
I use it for that myself with my partner.
Mhm. No, it's definitely something that I wanna weave into a partnership. Well, I guess I did go on a date there. That was an interesting first date.
Yeah, tell
Yeah,
me
yeah,
about
yeah. So
it.
it just kinda came across, like, I had a lunch with someone, and it was vibing well, and we had a bunch of, like, witty banter leading up to the lunch, so I was like,
Mhm.
"Okay, maybe I'll leave a little bit of a space afterwards," and Leola had sent me the invite to your event, and I was like, "Well, that's really cool. That's unique. I've never been to a porn and wine pairing screening.
Mhm.
Like, cool." And then I think that, he was like, "Well, I'm gonna end up staying in Austin anyway. We could get dinner." And I'm like, "Okay, well, we could get dinner or we could go to this." What are your thoughts on this? I know it's kind of wild and out there, but or it sounds fun and exhilarating to me. And so we said yes, and so we went and really enjoyed it. I love like the different like little snippets of the videos, getting to watch multiple and then like hearing people's different feedback and reaction and being in a group setting because I had never been in a group setting to watch porn before.
Yeah.
And I was like sitting there, I'm like, oh, I'm getting turned on for this one. I'm like looking around, I'm like, can they tell which is one hitting the button for me? you know. So I really liked that. I was on a cleanse at the time, so I didn't have the wine pairing, but I loved his descriptors too.
Yeah.
I was like, those are so like coolly described and like the erotic language kind of woven into, or I thought it was very well put. I hope you do another one.
We will. We will.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
And my friend, Wine Rack Soundtrack, the sommelier, is like, his descriptions always, I'm like, they're so good.
I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah. I think that, watching porn is a great way as a couple to explore fantasies and,
hmm
fantasies don't have to be something that you want to do in real life. They can stay as fantasies.
hmm
And porn's kind of a great safe way to explore. You know, you don't have
Mhm.
to risk getting an STD or like put yourself out there. Like it's
Mhm.
just a really, and it can be just for you too to explore a fantasy and see, do I like this? Do I not? You don't just kind of like, you don't have to like everything when you're having sex. You also don't have to like everything when you're watching porn.
Mhm.
And sometimes with Afterglow, people like the variety and that they can watch something that they didn't think that they would like.
Mhm.
And they could be like, it can just be, it doesn't have to be just for like masturbating and getting off. It can
Mm.
be a little bit more for exploration.
Yeah, I like the idea too. I mean, like, I definitely leaned a little bit voyeuristic too, and I'm like, oh, okay, like little snippets or takes in, and weaving in that self pleasure in multiple ways. Like whether it's like this, for me, I'm like, I get pleasure anything from a piece of dark chocolate
Yep.
to the sensual embodiment to self pleasure, and like really connecting to my body. And I'm like, how can I communicate to a partner if I don't experiment and find that with myself too? That was a big piece for me.
Me too.
And so it's been fun to explore or go into it. And plus, like, I think that there's so much sex, I mean, so much taboo around sex anyway. And I feel like the more you communicate it, the more open that you can be in that dialogue and exchange and release some of the taboo, even though the taboo does turn me on because
Yep.
I think I grew up like in the Bible Belt and like that religious shame or like I can't do it. I'm like, oh, if I do that, am I gonna go to hell or so like releasing that and so it's been interesting to even explore fantasies and it's cool that you brought it up to explore fantasies through porn too because um it just seems like a safe grounded way to
Yeah, and it's like, "Hey, you know, we
yeah.
don't have to do this. Maybe let's just watch
Mhm.
this film and then we can talk about it."
Yeah. Have a little
And
debrief.
a little debrief. Yeah, we and our recaps have little like reflection questions, you
Oh,
know, like
cool.
maybe there's a film that has kind of like gender play where people are kind of, you know, not being doing like kind of acting like traditional
Mm.
assigned female is birth, assigned male is birth. And it's like, hey, you know, was that weird for you? Like what made
Mhm.
it weird? Was it hot? Like, did you like, you know, talk about kind of which aspects make you dive
Mm.
that one layer deeper
Mhm.
of just like, okay, like, I think our audience is very much nerds. I'm a nerd.
I'm a nerd. I would say
Like sex
I'll claim
nerds.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, like sex nerds who want to explore and have the most amazing sex that they can. And I think sex is a skill and we need to practice,
Yeah,
you know?
and what a fun thing to
What a
practice.
fun thing to practice.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I love that you brought up, like, the different questions and prompts because even for me, that makes me think I believe I have masculine and feminine energy, and, so if I wanna tap more into, like, a masculine or dominant energy,
Yeah.
maybe watch something or,
Yeah.
like, how could I, weave a piece of that, in and out of the bedroom type of thing. I'm like, I got a fun outfit. Like,
Yep.
yesterday, I was like, "This feels like total dom vibes." And so I'm like, "Do I need an alternate name?" You know? To, like, create this,
Yeah.
for me. Um, yeah. What are, like, if someone's gonna, like, go to the website or, like, is there a certain just explore their own curiosities, or do you have, like, a couple of, like, favorites or that you like to hit on first or suggest or
So we have a what porn should I watch
Oh, well,
quiz.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you Google like Afterglow, what porn should I watch quiz, it'll come
Mhm.
up and it will get you a free movie as well.
Hmm.
So you can check it out. You can watch it. And we've got a lot of amazing stuff. We have different categories. So, you know, if you like something kinky, if you like something soft at the event that you were at, you know, you're like, oh, can people tell if it's turning me on? And then at the end, you know, we asked people to raise their hands of which ones was their favorite. And it was totally different. Like
Mhm.
what people's sexuality is like impossible to like nail down. And that's one thing that I love about making Afterglow is just trying to um figure out those different things that really make it hit for people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool to see the raising of the hands, the different I'm like, "Oh, okay. Oh, that one really?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, let's explore, talk more about that too."
Yeah.
Oh, it's fun. I love anything that, like, gamifies, I'm like, okay, if there's a quiz that makes it a little more fun. And I remember like filling out, like the Cosmo quizzes back in the day. And so I'm like,
Exactly.
okay, I want to see what I'm like, oh, which one should I watch? Because I just went in, I'm like, I'll share a search term. Like, I just moved into a new place and my neighbor is French. And so I just put in French, I think, and one popped up. I
Nice.
was like, cool. And so that's been fun. But I love it because it felt edgy. And for me, even too, whenever I think you said, let's share our search terms with our friends or with our partners, or if we're looking separately and together. So I just thought that was kind of fun and playful.
That reminds me, so women actually search for rough sex and gangbangs more than men do.
Oh, wow.
That's another fun fact that I like.
Yeah.
So,
Oh.
women don't love everything soft. We like it. We have our own fantasies. We like
Hmm.
it hard as well.
Yeah, I would say for sure, at least for me, I know in different times of my cycle, there are different times. Like I get more ovulation, I'm like, okay, more primal, or
Yeah.
maybe a little more hard or aggressive, but and then maybe where luteal, I'm like, okay, I really want a little more tender, sensual massage and,
Yep.
and gentleness where I might bite at you type of thing. So yeah, that's a good point. So any other cool like little statistics like that or
Yeah, I think women watch a lot of lesbian porn
for
too.
sure.
That's like one of the
Yeah.
top.
I'm super well, I mean,
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of different reasons for that. I think sometimes it's just softer and more sensual. Like it's more focused on women's pleasure because it
mhm,
can't not be focused on women's pleasure. Even though a lot of people are upset at kind of like the mainstream depiction of lesbian porn because it's not then the porn is not actually made for lesbians. It's made for like mostly heterosexual identifying people, like of what
mhm.
they think lesbian sex is. But yeah, that's super popular. Um, yeah.
Yeah, do you get to, see I didn't look I saw someone on Instagram posted, I guess, like, Pornhub's top search terms, like, I
Mhm.
guess you get all the cool data too, maybe of, like, who what the top search terms are, or I don't
Um,
know if you do, I'm
yeah,
guessing,
we
but,
we do. I haven't looked at it for a
yeah,
while. I think it's pretty boring. I think it's
yeah,
similar to Pornhub. I mean, we don't have as many people searching for MILFs.
mm,
And we don't use MILFs as a term.
mhm,
Um, yeah, it's like we have like lesbian stuff and like kinky stuff, I would say is the most popular.
mhm. Um And then I'm curious too about some of the challenges as far as like, 'cause I know, I think in Texas, the VPN thing with,
Yeah.
okay, so what has been, I'm not as well versed or tapped into what's going on in that scene.
Yeah.
So if you want to talk about it a little bit or
Yeah.
share.
Yeah. So there's a big push for age verification of porn sites and implementing age verification. And I'm very mixed on it. It's like the same organization that I was talking about, Nicosi, that like
Mm,
pushes the porn addiction narrative that's pushing for age verification. And they're doing it out like to try to illegalize they want to make porn illegal. Like that's their goal.
mm,
That's what they have said that they want to do. Um and that's not popular. People don't want porn to be illegal. But I'm very much I don't want people who are under 18 to be watching
mhm,
porn and it is super accessible. Um so a lot of states are passing age verification rules, but it's like and a lot of the porn sites, instead of complying with the age verification rules, are saying it's not legal, it's not constitutional for free. It's going too far to like protect it. Porn is free speech,
mm,
and so that's kind of being fought out by the courts, and it's going to the Supreme Court. And in Texas specifically, the rule that they passed says like you need to have on the footer of your website that like porn has proven to be harmful, which is like patently not true. So like the Texas rule is especially egregious and ridiculous. Um, so it'll be interesting. It's happening in Europe too. It's not just the United States. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how that plays out.
mhm,
Um, yeah, we're a subscription service, so you need to be over 18, you need to have a credit card, etc. Um, and the other interesting thing of terms of challenges is just that we cannot advertise or talk about our product anywhere. Like
Mm.
people who are our members, if we try to send them an email that says porn, it goes to spam filters.
Mm.
We can't post anything on Instagram. Like we've been shadow banned, even when we're just trying to do sex ed, because
Mhm.
and people who are sex educators, people who are sex researchers who are like have their PhDs get constantly shadow banned on Instagram. So just overall, the restrictions that we have to talk about sex is a big problem.
That is challenging. I've experienced that a little bit with my book and podcast too. I'm like, there's been a wealth of just like awesome content and information, but I'm like, because I chose the word sex in a
Yeah.
title.
And then you have to use the stupid like SEGS
Yeah.
and like,
Yeah, or some like little one with and it still somehow gets, I guess with all the AI, I'm like, I don't know if it can be search for a certain term or lingo, or even if it's like in print on the video versus,
yeah.
so that's definitely
Yeah. We
been,
like bleep our videos. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, feel like Leola had a reframe on that. She's like, well, think about who all used to be like shunned or thought of as taboo or kept or maybe shadow banned in a different aspect back in the day.
Yeah,
And-
you were shadow banned like
but-
by your friends and like in the public square.
Yeah, I was like, yeah. And died for certain
Yeah.
things. I'm like, so I'm not facing that, but at the same time, it's challenging because like we want to
Yeah.
shift narratives, and how do we begin to shift narratives around certain things if we can't talk about it or speak to it or write an email to people
Yeah,
or
and
even
we're
in your
just
data?
trying
Yeah.
to like give factual information to people about how to
Hmm.
have pleasure in their lives. And when
Yeah.
you restrict the information, that's like what creates the shame and feeds into that.
It's like a little vicious loop. And I feel like pointing at one thing as the bad guy, I mean, I always think of the thing, like, okay, if we're pointing at one thing, like what aspects of yourself are you not willing to address or look at, or what are you projecting,
Yeah.
or just making that one industry or a bad guy
And that's why I love porn,
versus,
because porn is totally
yeah.
like the scapegoat for everything.
Yeah.
And it's this thing that everybody does. Like
Mhm.
90% of people have watched porn in the past 6 months, but nobody talks about, nobody admits to it. And like, nobody sticks up for porn. And I think like, I really wanted to stick up for porn, and it deserves, it deserves its place as any artistic medium.
Mhm.
Yeah, I firmly believe that.
I mean, I definitely think that going to your event and me just having more conversation around it and exploring it through a different lens has released some of the shame that I had about whenever I would watch. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you
Do
can
I?
like porn.
Yeah.
Porn's great.
Yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
young me liked it at a young age, watching those scribbled. And now, even though I'm like, I know I want them to be 18, but
Yeah.
like I think I saw on your website, it's like the number one place where we learn.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, and are we going to bring it to the forefront and have dialogue around it, or are we going to keep it in the shadows?
Yeah.
I think like it should be given a space
Yeah.
at least to talk about.
Yeah. And
And you can have different opinions about it, but
totally. Yeah. And I have a daughter now.
Oh, wow.
So I think a lot about, what I want for her. And she's still young, but now I'm like, okay, I'm going to wash your vulva now. And just like
Mhm.
not being embarrassed about like poop and pee and, like
Yes.
having a body that works. And I think that's where it starts. And, I'm definitely don't know how I'm going to be a sex positive parent in the future, but I'm really excited for that journey.
Yeah. How old is she? No, you
She's
said
like 2,
two.
almost
Okay.
2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, even remember, like I've dated people that were like, okay, so he had a daughter that comes to mind. He's like, oh, I'm going to wash your front butt. And I'm like, wait,
Yeah.
front butt, or like the different terminology. And I'm like, can we just like have some?
Yeah, let's just call it what it is.
Yeah.
Like you don't have a weird name for your arm or your nose
Mhm.
or whatever.
Mhm. I also love like even just the different for some reason it comes up. I don't know if you know Sam and like the pussy casting workshops or
Oh yeah.
yeah, that was really cool. I went to like a women's circle where we did a casting workshop, and then we passed each one around and just got to see like, oh, okay, what messages are coming up, or that we just all look so different.
Yeah.
And so I think like viewing things and talking about things and helps release shame and just come like more comfortability and at home and at peace and love our body
Yeah.
and self-acceptance.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Where do you have like a vision that you want to take this to, or
My
continue to grow, or
Yeah, my number one metric is just helping people have better sex and
yeah.
hoping to impact people's sex lives in a positive way. Want to make some more films that, I have a lot of stories that I want to tell that are in here that
Ooh.
I want to really get out there. Um, but I'm really happy with just doing what we're doing, and we're doing more pleasure recaps with sex educators. Yeah.
That's cool. Do you mind sharing any of the stories that you haven't filmed
Yeah,
yet, or
it's
do you
gonna be
hesitate to
really no, no,
yeah.
I really wanna show, one where somebody has a little bit of, like, a PTSD kind of response, or just,
Mhm.
like, or they're
Oh,
having sex and it's, like, going
ah,
well, but then, like, someone's triggered, and just showing, like, kind of a loving response to that. But like, need to find the right people and, like, be really,
mhm.
who are gonna be able to execute it well.
I love that. That really warms my heart as someone that's had different woundings and initiations. And for a long time, I was like, I didn't want anyone to touch my breast because of a previous experience. And then, I just had a recent encounter where we had offered to have like give a forehanded massage, and it brought up like some feelings. And we're like, hey, no, no is a full sentence.
Yeah.
And so I love like offering that as well,
Because a lot of times too,
because
like,
it's real.
partners don't know how to respond, and it's like, again, if you don't, no one's teaching you or showing you what, being a positive role model, then how are you
Mhm.
expected to know?
And, like, you didn't do anything wrong per
Exactly,
se, but it
yeah.
could have reminded. I know for me, I'll speak from experience, like, if someone did, for a long time, like, it reminded me of that scenario, and then it's like
Yeah, shut down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm like,
Yeah,
suddenly I want to go to sleep or, or disconnect from
yeah,
the intimacy, or that sort of thing. So I hope that that one comes to fruition. I think that can benefit a lot of people.
yeah, me too.
Are there any other ones that you want to feed?
I wanna do a MMF threesome. We have
Yeah.
some on the
Okay.
site, but I wanna do more. Um Potentially like a cowboy orgy.
Oh,
So some fun. So, it can be serious, it can be fun, it can be silly, and sex encompasses all of that.
yeah. When I see that, I'm like, I get an image of like boots on and cowboy hats, and then I'm in like some different women's chats where we're exploring, yeah, like how the fantasy of two men is or more, or a gangbang is like a common fantasy,
Yeah.
um, which I don't know if people would look automatically assume, kind of like what you reference about women searching those more than men.
Yeah.
Um, so I love the cowboy vibes. It's like giddy up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Is there anything else you want to share, or any other questions or areas that we could explore? I think that we have a little bit more time.
Yeah, I think, just wanna reiterate that Afterglow and that porn in general can be a really amazing tool for self-discovery and for relationships, and we shouldn't be scared of porn. There's nothing to be scared of.
Hmm.
It can be a really amazing tool to add to your sexual toolkit, and a really good partner for other things like, guided meditations and sensual movement. There's a whole world of sexuality there. So I think if I had one takeaway for people, it would just to be to try something new in your sex
Hmm.
life, and don't worry about if it's perfect or not.
Mm. Yeah, take that. And that brings up for me what we do in our sex life is often has ripple effects
Yeah.
in our other world, or um, interactions. And I know that for me, once I reclaimed like either sexual curiosity or the ability to speak or voice desires and boundaries and fears, all of it, even if it's like, okay, I think I'm kind of got a weird stomach, I might fart,
Yeah.
like, even though I think they're funny, I grew up with brothers, but even just like voicing it and name it helps release it. But like having that in that space had ripple effects in the confidence and everything just kind of outwardly.
Yeah. I
Um,
feel like our sexual selves is kind of like top of like the Maslow's hierarchy
mm,
of needs. So it's like the thing when you're tapped into it, you're like at your best self and like peak power. And when other things happen in life that, other things are going on and sex might not be a priority, and
Yeah.
that's also okay.
Mhm. I mean, there's definitely been phases too of like conscious like celibacy times or reflection, or like maybe I've been giving too much of energy outward and then maybe go on an inner reflection journey or
Yeah.
time for self. So I love that piece too.
Yeah.
So where do people find you, connect with Afterglow, all that good stuff too?
Yes.
Yeah.
So xoafterglow.com is our website. We are on Instagram, xoafterglow with 2 W's at the end. And we can also give a free 7-day
Would love to.
trial
Yeah.
to listeners. We can do sex, drugs, and spirituality. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
We might
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
cut this and edit it, but I'll come up with a.
Okay, cool.
We
Yeah.
can have a link to that in the
Yes.
notes.
Yes. Thank you, Tills. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on and being open and exploring and connecting
Yeah.
in person. I love it. It's the first one.
Thanks for having
Yeah.
me.
Oh my God, I've been wanting you on for a while. And I think just the timing of it too helps me, step into where I want to expand this and defy censorship a little bit.
Yeah.
And there's a bit of me, and it's like if you tell me I can't do something.
Oh, you want to do it. Me
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
That's why I started
So,
this company.
yeah. Well, I'm so glad you did. And I'm happy to share it with friends too, and the link and the show notes and all that jazz.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.